Hello, lovely people out there in podcast listening land. This is Carrie Brown, and I have with me Mr. Jonathan Bailor.
Good day to you, Carrie, and to our lovely listeners in
How
podcast
are you, sir?
listening land. I'm well. I'm excited.
What are you excited about?
I'm excited because we're going to start off the podcast talking about something that I have very strong opinions about.
Uh-oh.
And I think
Is
you
there
do too.
anything you don't have strong opinions
Yes.
about?
Baseball, for example. I really don't care about baseball.
Snap! Because baseball equates to exercise.
No, actually, there's quite a few things that I care about. Like, there's a bunch of like this really nuanced stuff. But anyway, the what I think I do care about, Carrie, is late night munchies.
Uh-oh. Do you get the late night munchies?
Carrie, I think the listeners know this, but like, I'm not like pro emotional eating, but I'm one of those kind of people that believe that eating is intrinsically emotional. To say like stop emotional eating is just not
realistic.
Like, we are emotional. Like if that was possible, we would just eat mush. Because
grass. We'd be like cows.
We just eat mush all day long. And I do, after a long day, there's nothing I look forward to more than going home and just getting down with my sanity, and that's all happening post 9 p.m. in the evening.
Okay, so what do you eat?
Well, a couple things. One, I'm doing all right from a health and fitness perspective, so to all those people that are saying that if you eat after 9 p.m., somehow magically that breaks your body in a way that eating 2 hours earlier wouldn't. False. The other thing to keep in mind...
And I'm looking at him, people, I can tell you. He's not fibbing.
The other thing to keep in mind is that joy is an important part of life. Right? Like
hurrah!
Hurrah! Hurrah! So if there is something that just gives you so much freaking joy, just find the smartest way to do it possible, right? Like...
So what gives you joy, Jonathan?
What gives me joy is I love sweets and I love chocolate. Love it. I've had a sweet tooth my entire life. My whole family does. And I'm a chocoholic.
Okay.
So I've got to have... And I'm a volume eater, Carrie. So you put that together and you think I should weigh 500 pounds, right? Like I love sweets. I love chocolate. And I am not one of those kinds of people who can say, I'm just going to eat this Hershey's Kiss, and I'm good. If I eat a Hershey's Kiss, all that does is make me want to eat 30 Hershey Kisses. It does not make me feel better. It makes me want more.
If I saw you eat a Hershey's Kiss, we would have to get a divorce.
But so here's what I do, Carrie. I say, what is it that I'm actually craving? So like if I feel like I'm craving Hershey's Kiss, what I'm actually craving is like cocoa, that chocolatey flavor. I'm also craving something sweet. So I go to Carrie Brown's blog, or I make one of my little concoctions where I take something like cocoa powder base, SANE sweetener, either a Greek yogurt or some egg whites or something that fluffs it up a little bit. Throw some ice maybe in the Vitamix, throw some cinnamon. I find the components and I find sane ways to put them together, and I've got my bowl of SANE ice cream or of just like whatever I'm doing. I take some berries, I blend it up. Or if I get a big bowl of sugar snap peas. I know that sounds weird, but like if you've had fresh sugar snap peas, they're the freaking bomb. Like they're delicious.
So the key here, though, has got to be this is so much simpler and easier if you make your house sane.
Absolutely.
So if you get rid of all the insane stuff, you are forced, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but if you get home and you have the munchies and all you have is sane ingredients to choose from,
yep,
your brain will create something for you to eat.
Brilliant point. It will create that, and if all you have is sane material to work with, you'll paint a sane portrait.
If you have insane stuff in the house, I guarantee you will eat that.
Yep, absolutely.
So get rid of all the insane stuff from your house. Your life will be so much simpler and easier.
And
you'll get very creative.
You'll get very creative and find a few go-to things. Like I make this bread pudding kind of. Again, I mean, There's no bread in it, people. I can't cook like Carrie cooks just because I that's not my style. But I take coconut, I take cocoa. I take a SANE sweetener. I take eggs and egg whites. Those are basically the 4 ingredients. And I either combine them with ice and make an ice cream, or I combine them with a certain level of water or like an almond milk, make pancakes. I bake them. On the weekend, generally, I bake like freaking pounds of this stuff. And it's like, it's more like it's like a cakey consistency. And I tell you, being able to sit down and have a freaking like encyclopedia, well, that's a little exaggeration, maybe like a quarter of an encyclopedia worth of this thing, which tastes a heck of a lot like chocolate cake, topped with a strawberry ice cream, which is extremely sane because it's made with egg whites, frozen strawberries, ice, xylitol, and guar gum. Yo, I am sitting down, guilt-free, eating a freaking chocolate cake with strawberry ice cream on top, and I feel great when I finish. I'm satisfied. I'm eating emotionally. I'm happy on all levels.
Goodness.
It's goodness.
All goodness.
So it's like you don't have to be abstinent. Just do it safely, right? Like just do it. Yeah. Just be safe and smart about it.
Yeah.
So.
And you will come up with stuff if you have nothing insane to cook with.
Yeah.
You will. But I have a bunch of things that will fit that bill that you can whip up in 5 minutes over on carriebrown.com. So there's a whole bunch of ideas there if you need a starting point too.
I love having those options. I love also knowing that if you don't think of the color blue. What's everyone thinking of right now? Right? Like, so the idea, just saying in your mind, I can never do this, or I cannot experience this experience anymore, is a recipe for disaster.
Right.
Not only can you, I would argue, not only can you experience it, but you can experience an even greater feeling, because it's like buying a beautiful outfit that's also on sale. Not only did you get a great outfit, but there will be this meta level of satisfaction where, like, let's say, not to geek out too much, but let's say there's an outfit that's $300 and is a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Then you find an outfit which is a 9, and you find it for $65. You're going to feel better with that $65 9 that you, because you're going to be like, man, I got like 90% of the value there, and I was smart about it. So I would argue it's not about deprivation at all.
You are clearly not a woman.
That is true.
A woman.
Why do you say that?
Because every girl out there in podcast land is going, I want the $300 one.
Well, fine. Maybe that was a bad analogy. You understand my point.
Yes.
Now I have to go eat emotionally.
The game I like to play is, in this instance, is I get to eat as much as I want as long as it's sane.
Yeah.
So how sane can I make something? Because then I can just eat forever. Yeah. So I don't go into it thinking this is about what I can't have.
Yeah.
It's about how much of this yummy sane stuff can I have.
Yes.
That's how I approach it. Of course, you get full and you're satiated and you don't end up eating much. But I go into it with that mindset.
And Harry, it's worth two things. One is I will also stress the importance of what I would call intermissions or rest periods. So for me, Carrie and I are very different. Like, I'm a 190-pound, 6-foot-tall male, and so I just eat more in general. And I also used to be very, very into bodybuilding. So I used to eat a lot. Like, folks know my story, right? Like, I used to eat 6,000 calories a day. So my body is conditioned to eating a lot of food. However, it is very important to note that it takes time for satiety signals in your belly to get to your brain telling you that you're full. So even if you are in like a super, speaking from experience, like all I want to do is eat. Nothing else. Just eat food now. Eating hum num num num. Eating num 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 num. I'm like, okay, that was a delicious 3 bowls. I'm going to have 3 more. Stop for 5 to 10 minutes. Just do something, like go run around the block. Just for 5 to 10 minutes, stop. I find, not all the time, 80% of the time, 10 minutes later, I'm totally satisfied. On. And in fact, if I didn't wait that 10 minutes and I did the second batch, that's when you're then like,
then you feel crappy.
Oh my God. Like, you don't feel satisfied, you feel bad.
Yeah.
So just, that doesn't mean, like, take a bite and then wait 5 minutes. It means do your thing within reason. You're not going to feel like to the tip top, and you're going to be like, oh man, I want to feel that tip top feeling. I want to feel that. I want to feel satisfied. Just wait 5 to 10 minutes. Frequently, it'll fill itself up.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, some tips from an emotional volume eater who manages to stay healthy and relatively fit. So,
yes.
Woo! More of sanity. That's
what else?
The key. What's else? What else? How to stop boredom from becoming overeating. Because oftentimes when we're bored, well, might as well just eat.
That's not a good question to ask me because I'm so busy. Boredom just isn't even on my radar ever.
Yep.
Ever. My to-do list is so long, and I'm like that. I'm just, that's just me, right? I have bright, shiny object syndrome, and I'm just, me and boredom. Yeah, no, never.
Was it? And maybe it's not so much boredom,
Yeah.
but just like good example is maybe people who are just like maybe sitting down and you watching a movie, like eating Most people don't eat popcorn when they watch movies because they're hungry.
Right.
They eat popcorn while they're watching a movie because it's like a fun complement to the activity that's going on.
So I don't have TV rights, so I don't watch movies.
Carrie, you're not relating to the listeners.
I'm not. I'm trying, but I'm. There's a no.
So again. Well, this is going to sound like a broken record here, folks, but like, for example...
You can be movie man.
I will be movie man because dear Angela, my wife, and myself are very, very boring people, I think. Simple. I like to call it simple. Other people call it boring. I like to keep life simple, as you know, from...
I'm too busy inventing recipes to watch movies.
My point is that Friday and Saturday night, literally every week, Netflix is what my wife and I are doing, and I love the whole popcorn movie dynamic. However, I don't love the insanity of popcorn. So again, you just find sane alternatives. So whether it's, Carrie's suggestion of beef jerky, whether it's just sugar snap peas, I know sounds lame, but they're very delicious. Once you start getting into vegetables, you'd be surprised how much you start to develop a taste for vegetables and how much like a bowl of vegetables is actually quite satisfying. I know it sounds a little bit silly. And certainly it wouldn't be my first choice, but soy nuts, if not processed to the nth degree and GMO'd up, are a great alternative if the choice is between popcorn and, let's say, soy nuts. Soy nuts is a good option. And the only reason I'm not including nuts in that list is to sit down and eat nuts for 2 straight hours.
Yeah, that's a lot of nuts.
That's going to be a lot of nuts. And I don't actually think you would do that based on satiety, but remember that we're not always being totally rational, and it can just be a force of habit.
Right, if we're focusing on the movie,
exactly.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. Again, it's not like anti-nuts. It's always smarter. Eat more, smarter, using the mind. So eating when bored, maybe not bored, just when doing other things.
Distracted.
When distracted.
When it's not a meal time and you're snacking when you're distracted can be dangerous. But again, one of the things that will make it easier for you is if you have nothing insane in the house, then you can't go there. You will find something sane to snack on.
And I love that you said eating while you're distracted, Carrie, because I think this is an opportunity. So often when we're rushed or distracted, I notice that's when individuals sometimes make very insane choices. Like, I'm just rushed at work, so I'm just going to grab a piece of pizza and whatever. If you're going to go insane, I think it's best to go insane when you can really enjoy it. Like, if you're not really going to be dialed in to what you're putting in your mouth, that's actually a great opportunity
to eat vegetables.
Right? Like, I mean, think about it, really. Like, if you have one opportunity, if you have one eating occasion during the day when you can actually eat something and just like sit and eat it and savor it, that would be the time to slide the furthest down the sanity spectrum. Not when you're not even really, because you're doing that for enjoyment.
Right.
So if you're not even able to enjoy it, right? It's like listening to your favorite song when you have earmuffs on. Like, wait, just stop. Wait till you at least have your earmuffs off. And that's what it's that conscious eating, right? It's not, don't, if you're going to eat a cupcake, Don't just, like, you're walking to a meeting, you see cupcakes out, and you're like, oh, cupcake. Nom, 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 nom. You just ate a cupcake, and you got, like, a sliver of satisfaction out of it.
Right.
Make the cupcake worth it. Eat something else during that time period, because you're not thinking about it anyway.
Right. But if you have a choice, don't eat the cupcake.
Certainly, yes. Yes. It's just all about make it worth it if you're going to do it.
We're going to have some listener take you out of context and say, Jonathan Bailor wants you to eat cupcakes.
Yes, that is. Well, it depends. If they're made out of, like, for example, the recipe I described earlier. Yes. Then, and in fact, because like the thing I described earlier, Carrie, I mean, we got coconut in there. We got cocoa. We got our eggs. We even maybe have a little bit of protein powder in there. I mean, that's sanity right there. I love it.
If you're eating cupcakes, people, make sure they're sane.
SANE cupcakes. All right, Carrie. So you've touched on this a couple times. What we have in our house matters a lot, but is there a way to organize our food in our house? So like obviously SANE food only, if at all possible. How are we storing that SANE food? How are we presenting that SANE food to help optimize our sanity and save ourselves time?
Buy in bulk.
Okay.
Saves a lot of money. Saves a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I probably buy different things in bulk than most people with families because I'm single. So the things I buy in bulk are ground almonds or almond flour, xylitol, egg white powder, coconut milk, just things that will keep.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then nuts. However, if you're buying nuts, make sure you keep them in the freezer.
Yes.
Because nuts are oily and oils go rancid. So for nuts, things like nuts and seeds, I keep the bulk ones in the freezer, and then I have out an airtight glass jar of what I'm using currently.
Mm-hmm.
And I do the same thing for all nut products and seed products. If you came to my house, I actually posted a post a little while back which actually had a picture of one of my kitchen cupboards with all my cute little glass storage jars with everything in there. Makes it very easy to see, makes it very easy to find,
mm-hmm.
And it keeps everything as nutritionally valid as possible while you're storing it. Although I don't have a ton of pantry items because most typical pantry items are insane.
Yeah.
So a lot of Jonathan's exactly the same, is the fridge is where most of your ingredients are in the fridge and freezer, not in your pantry.
This sounds a little bit silly, but there's actually quite a few behavioral psychology studies that show this. Even the height at which things are, like that which is eye level, is much more likely to be consumed than that which is not. So if you could put, for example, your non-starchy vegetables at eye level, that's great. And in fact, put like colorful things up front. Again, the more you can see this as a game, I mean, make it easy for yourself, right? Like put the things you want to eat more of up front. Present them to yourself well. I mean, when you go into a grocery store, they put a lot of time and money in getting you to be insane.
Right, they're masters of marketing.
So try to just flip that and actually, Whole Foods is really expensive, but if you want, like, Whole Foods does an incredible job at presenting a lot of really healthy food really well. You learn some lessons from that store. So
yes, I was just going to say, for people who are not in the States, Whole Foods is a supermarket chain, grocery chain, and it's just, I mean, if not all Whole Foods are expensive. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Whole Foods, the store. Whole Foods store is a good example of how even the sanest of foods can be presented in a way that makes them look as delicious, if not. And that's the cool thing, Carrie, is I think on some level, I don't have any studies to back this up, so this is Jonathan going more emotional, instinctual. On some level, whole, natural foods, when presented properly, when prepared properly, are more satisfying and enjoyable
than these synthetic garbage things.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think real human experiences, visceral, like the amygdala, animal part of our brain, has existed for so long, and it has existed to crave those things. So let's just use every avenue we have to tap into that. Let's prepare our food deliciously. Let's pick the right foods in the first place. Let's present it, especially if we've got kids. Make it fun, make it colorful, and just, have a good time with it.
Presentation is, there's the adage, you eat with your eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
It really, the way, and if you've seen any of the recipes on my blog over at carriebrown.com, I take photographs of everything. They are not doctored photographs, and I want you to know that if you make the recipe as follows, it will look like that. But it's important that you take the little bit of extra effort to make it look like that.
Absolutely.
Because it makes a huge difference to how it is perceived, especially if you're alone in a household that doesn't particularly want to go sane. It will help you enormously, particularly with children, if it looks, appetizing. If it looks good enough to eat, then they'll probably want to eat it.
And this is Jonathan going off the ranch again a little bit, but I think that this whole, really honoring yourself. You're about to take something and put it into your body. The more as a culture we've moved away from honoring that, from honoring food, from that. That's a pretty intimate activity. Spend a little time. I know it's hard, but college is hard. Raising kids is hard. Holding down a full-time job is hard.
Life is hard.
We all do things that are a lot harder. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of priority.
But the thing is, if you eat sanely, if you switch over to a sane lifestyle, everything else will get easier.
Absolutely. Love it. Yes, you will have more. You will literally have more time.
You will have more time. You will feel better. You won't be dealing with the same health issues. You won't be having to take time off. You will have energy. You won't be dragging. Everything will be better. The effects of healing your body touch every single part of your life.
To use an analogy from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, without question the most influential book I've ever read, it would be a bit like saying you have someone who's sawing down a tree, and they're sawing and sawing and sawing, and their blade is dull, and they're like, I don't have time to go sharpen my saw. Right? The time you would spend sharpening your saw will allow you to cut down that tree so much faster than sitting there and rubbing a
and
dull
more
blade.
Effectively, not
Absolutely.
Just faster, but so much more effectively.
Absolutely. I love it. Carrie, I'm excited. Are you excited?
I am very excited.
Well, listeners, I hope you're as excited. And remember, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. Chat with you soon.
See ya.